Soul fam, Ella Ivy here with another energy update with Livzenastrology. I was called to pop on here and to reflect on some of the energies. Again, there's so much to look at with the astrology, but today what wanted to be focused on, because we do have a new moon approaching in Gemini, is this new moon in Gemini. Mercury that rules the mind is going to be ingressing into Gemini the day before the new moon. So there's a lot of, it's a Gemini party, right? The Gem and I'm thinking of the genie, right? The jewel and I that reflects duality, that reflects our gnosis, right? Information, how we process and reflect data, information. This is all Gemini, rules siblings, early education, the third house, how we speak, how we do commerce, how we communicate daily, how we interact and engage. And while we're live here now, I'm just going to go ahead and share this to another page because, again, media, here we go. Share this to, how's everybody doing today? If you guys are a vibrational match, thank you so much for playing, for being here. Today, we're going to be experiencing, I'm going to pull a card. Actually, a couple of cards from a couple of different card decks, as I'm called to do, because I like to play with the divination decks. I like the artistic representation of the energy. We're going to be looking at the astrological wheel and seeing what's going on there, looking at some of the transits, how the energy is happening, what's happening with the energy. Okay, I went ahead and posted that as well. And then we're just going to be sharing from the heart what wants to be expressed for the collective, because this is really right now the time to open up that throat chakra, right? Gemini is all about speaking, communication. It's having all these amazing ideas and thoughts and data, but then how do we translate that data into a workable art, into workable knowledge that people can use to better themselves, right? Because when you be better, you feel better, you do better, you're just a better human being, right? Just the better version of you. So that's what this channel really is about for those that are here. This is about you being the highest, most balanced, harmonically vibrant version of yourself, your highest octave self, because all is self. So if you're here with this for this channel, you're here for this reading, you're here connected to this troll vibe. What is that? Interesting. To the soul tribe, Gemini, duality. Then thank you for being here. There's something here for you. And so thank you for playing and participating. And so now that I went ahead and shared that, I can concentrate on the energy as it wants to be spoken about. Let's just go ahead and take a deep breath, maybe hold for the count of 4 and release for the count of 4. And we can do that 4 times together. If you ever or really want to calm down your nervous system and really in an intention to receive, you can do this breath, this 4 square breathing. Doing that 4 times together, it sets the foundation and the grid for you to experience harmony and balance in that now moment, because now is all we have. So take a drink, take a breath, maybe get a crystal, put an essential oil on, and just get ready to receive some astrology and hopefully some inspiration to help you navigate these energies. And before we really get started, I really wanted to show you too the mantra that came through before I was meditating and tuning in before this energy update was, and I say this a lot, if you guys know me, follow me on the channel, or even friends with me, I say this quite a bit. It's never what we think. And so with this Gemini new moon, that's what was really coming in from my own experiences. I can project based on only past experiences, a future reality timeline. And that's all of us, right? But for those of us who are willing to release those projections, those old experiences, to really make space for what's happening in the now and see things in a new way, you're going to see that it's never what we think this reality is, right? It's always more beautiful and more precise and more synchronistic than this human mind could ever really tap into, because of based on where we were in our consciousness, coming out of the Kali Yuga phase, coming out of the darkened phase of our consciousness, where we just had amnesia. We forgot who we were. We forgot our capabilities. We talk about the metaphysical, but it's really the beyond the physical. which we're just now starting to tap into with Pluto and Aquarius, tapping into our own power, our power centers, this vehicle, right? This technology that has been inside of us is now starting to become expressed. And so how does that look? So let me tell you a story. As I'm here in Kentucky, I've been here in Kentucky since December of 2024, right? And I've been doing a lot of healing, a lot of processing. My father passed away during that time, January early of 2025. I had a really dear friend that took his life in March. So I've been really processing the energy of death, transformation. And again, if you follow this channel, we don't see death as what most people see death as. It's not a completion. In some ways it is, but it's just a completion of one chapter cycle and then a beginning of another one, right? So yes, I mourn my father and my very dear friend who have transitioned, but I also celebrate the fact that they are now in spaces where they're butterflies, where their caterpillar phase is completed, and now they're off to the next phase. So while I was in contemplation outside in one of my meditations, I think this was happening right after I found out, Eric transitioned. I was in deep mourning, and there was a lot of thoughts running around in my head, right? Just a lot of just thoughts, asking questions, why, just reminiscing on the past. We all do that. If anybody has ever experienced a loss, you do that. You have to sit with that being and you just go into memory, right? Of when we did this, and you just have more awareness about their personalities. And anyway, it's going to be unique and different for anybody that has dealt with loss in that way. And if you have, I just really sending you a lot of love and compassion, because it's a hard transit, but it's necessary. And in the middle of that, a lot of, grief and overthinking about, why did this happen? I just heard in a very subtle voice, my higher self said, just put your forehead to the earth so you can calm down all these thoughts that you're propagating at this time, and just be with the energy, just be with your grief, be with how you're feeling, right? Because sometimes the mind just likes to think its way through stuff, but we're here in a physical body to feel, right? The senses, the sensory body. This is Taurus as well. So thank goodness I have the wherewithal and enough practice to settle the mind enough to go, okay, this doesn't make sense, but I'm going to go ahead and put my forehead right onto the earth. And I felt like this energy discharging out of my third eye, which is the pineal gland. It's actually in the center of the brain. It's a gland that connects you to your spiritual nature, if you will. It secretes DMT. There's a lot of uses for the pineal gland. It looks like a pine cone. And so I just felt all this energy that had been stored up in my overthinking processes. I just discharged it right into the earth, right? And I was actually taking some deep breath in. It was actually smelling the soil, smelling the grass, which is very grounding, which is why sometimes we use vetiver oil, because vetiver is made of grass. It's the essential oil of grass. It's very grounding, right? So there's medicine when you go out into nature, and through smell, through the olfactory system, which is how we smell, how we connect to our environment, sensory gland, that really just helps you calm down your system. And it's also attached to memory, right? So the earth was helping me remember that energy is neither created nor destroyed, is just transformed. And my friend and my father who transitions, they transformed back into the earth. And I know it sounds weird, but I could like smell their essence through the soil, right? Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And so it was a very beautiful meditation that I experienced. And in that meditation, I saw roses, and I saw this beautiful bushel of roses that in my mind's eye at that time, I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to start a rose garden. I want to plant roses, because I use rose spray before I put on my essential oils. I have this specific sacred oil concoction that I made with castor oil and fractionated coconut oil and frankincense and myrrh and lavender. And anyway, and before I put this particular serum on my face, I spray it with rose water. So I thought, gosh, what it would be nice. This is the senses Taurus, to be able to make my own rose water, right? From organic petals that I have crafted on the land that I get to be a part of right now, right? So I had this image in my mind. And so in my mind's eye, I'm thinking, okay, where am I going to get the rose seeds, right? I want to make sure it's organic. What color do I want? I'm just propagating in my head because I want to create these roses, right? I want to have the experience of having a rose garden here where I'm at in Kentucky. And so we just had a Cassini with the sun in Uranus in Taurus, right? 27 degrees. Forget which day that was on, but it was recent. And we've been having kind of irregular weather patterns here in Kentucky. If you guys have been following the news, there's been a lot of tornadoes and a lot of things have been shifting here in the state of Kentucky and Missouri as well. And again, sending shout out to all the people that have been really affected by these currents of energies that are happening in this part of the state, right? State of consciousness. And but knock on wood, I've been, protected here, and this area where I'm at has not been affected. We've had rain and different things, but nothing like what other parts of Kentucky have been feeling. So again, sending so much love to my brother and sisters who are feeling the effects of that past tornado. So just showing the energy has shifted, right? Because when the sun is conjunct Uranus, it's unexpected change. And Uranus also has to do with weather. It has to do with our electrical currents. It has to do with the electromagnetic field of the earth. And in Taurus, it's the earth, right? Shaking up the earth. So in this area where I've been staying, there's been definitely a shakeup, right? And so we all are feeling this. But going back to the rose story, that day, after that day, it's like I woke up, and just put in the comments if you guys can relate to this. It's almost like as if you're seeing the world in a new way. Like things are showing up out of the blue that you've never seen before. You're like, I was just looking at that yesterday. How did that just pop up? Or like today when I went out into the garden, there's a whole bunch of trees that came down. And I was just on one side of the woods, and I'm like, I didn't even hear the storm last night. Where did that happen? Right. So it's like overnight changes that happen that are very quick. So going back to the roses, I know this is a long story but it's fun. It's a great story because again, it's showing how it's never what we think. So again, I had that meditation after my friend transitioned. I saw the rose garden. I'm thinking I have to take all these action steps, right, to create the rose garden. And out of the blue, aha, I woke up the next day and there's a beautiful rose bushel right outside the yard that it, as if by magic, just appeared overnight. I can't explain, maybe it was there and I just didn't see it. Who knows? Right? The chicken or the egg. Mine's trying to figure it out. Either way, I had this image in meditation about roses. I thought I would have to take all these action steps to make it happen. I let it go. And then a few weeks later, all of a sudden, a rose bush appeared. And I just have to show you because I went out there and I got permission. Look at this beautiful. This is, when I looked it up, these are actually rose bushes. And they're beautiful. They have little yellow, you can see, centers, and it's beautiful, vibrant pink, right? So I was told too, look, there's one too. They always come in twos too, right? So I wouldn't have picked that if I had saw them that way, but it was okay because I always ask permission before I pick anything. Who wants to come with me? Who wants to play? And so these roses, if you study the vibration of roses, it's one of the highest vibrational frequencies we have, is flower essences and roses. And so again, this is just showing, this is just a story to reflect that when you have an image or you meditate and you see something in your field that you want to create, sometimes it's just as magical as vibrating. You don't have to actually take physical action. What I'm saying is that you just have to vibrate to the reality where that's in existence, and then all of a sudden you're there. And this is part of the magic of, as we're getting into quantum energy and the quantum field of using astrology as a technology to remind you of the technology that we already have inherently within us. Nikola Tesla had talked about, if we understood the secrets of the universe, it is in vibration and frequency. And so what if it's as simple as vibrating to the reality that you want to see and then magically opening up your eyes and seeing that reality timeline in front of you. Can you accept that? Can you accept that this reality perhaps is not what we think? It's beyond thinking. It's a vibration field that we're just projecting, that perhaps we didn't have the access to project these certain realities because we could not vibrate at these certain frequencies up until now. Because if you're following the Schumann resonance and following what's going on with these solar flares and what's happening with the sun, which is data, which is information, and again, whatever your opinion is about the sun, about the moon, to me, they're just technologies. They're just versions of us, because again, livzenastrology comes from all is self, right? So we are projecting these reality timelines outside of us. So the sun is a technology that has a certain cycle. It's usually 11-year cycle, right? Just like we have the moon has its cycles, the sun has its cycles. Everything has a cycle to it. Right? Think about this, the Fibonacci spiral of the universe, the galaxy, the way it spirals into existence, it comes through a pattern. And that's what astrology really is. It's pattern recognition. It's recognizing that there are frequencies that are creating these dimensions, how we house the energy. That's why they call it houses. And these dimensional spaces are shifting and changing before our very eyes. So you may get a precog vision like I had with the roses, and it really brought me joy to say, yes, I'd love to have this rose garden. And then it almost seemed like that I just had to vibrate at that. And then they just showed up. Right? They just showed up. And now I've got roses on my altar. I've got roses all over the house. That was a way for me to increase my vibration, because we got a lot of interesting frequencies bombarding us right now. And I felt it in my room last night. And maybe you guys can, put something in the comments of how you're feeling. I don't want to trigger anybody with this, but I definitely feel like we are in some sort of spiritual battle. And this is also what Gemini is going to be denoting with the sun in Gemini, because it does rule polarity and the poles of Polaris, which is almost, I look like a tree, right? The top and below. And so we're starting to recognize that as we are all of it, right? We are the perpetrators, we are the victims. If all is self, then everything that's happening outside of us right now is part of you. There's power in that, but it also demands responsibility, which is very Pluto and Aquarius. If you can understand through your own spiritual practices, through your own gnosis, through your own getting to these parts of consciousness where it's all you, then you immediately start taking responsibility for you and your projections, right? So the cleanup right now, and this is also the nodes of fate, which is right now the North Node is in Pisces, which is what we've all come to learn, is developing a spiritual practice and a connection to the divine that surpasses the mind. It's a knowingness. It's the age, we're moving out of the age of belief, which is the age of Pisces, into the age of knowing. I know, like I know, like I know. That this is how these frequencies work. I may not have the language yet, right? So we talk about the priests, the modern priests, which is our scientists, are starting to give language to the mystical happenings that have been happening this whole time. But we've been using, say, religious language to define our experiences. And now we're bridging the gap between what science is telling us, the mystics of science, right? These are priestcraft as well, that get humanity to believe that we're in a cusp and a precipice of a whole new way of thinking and seeing. So this is what the sun in Gemini ingressing into it. You're going to be receiving all kinds of data. We already have, because Jupiter, which is the planet of expansion, has been in Gemini. So it's been expanding. I mean, a lot of us have been blown away by just how this reality, perhaps what we've been taught, early education, also Gemini, is being blown out of the water. It's basically being saying, hey, we got to rewrite our histories here, because what we thought, what our ancestors thought things were, because we were in amnesia, the Kali Yuga phase of the epoch cycle we've been in. Well, now we're starting to reemerge, more data and more knowledge. We're getting more expanded. We're getting back online, if you will, with how things truly, the truth of who we are. And it's beyond logic. It's beyond even what's comprehensible. We don't even really truly have the language yet to express these inner technologies that are starting to come outside of us. So with this channel, we want to go ahead and help you to put those thoughts together, first of all, that, hey, what if it's all you? There's one of us here in this energetic field of consciousness. Some people call it the unity consciousness, they call it the quantum field, whatever, and God, divine intelligence, creator, the one source, whatever language you use, this is all part of this dark matter field of consciousness that we're all in. So how does it want to be expressed through you, through your own individuated source field energy pattern, voice box that's unique, that while we're still all part of this one divine system, you still are uniquely you, right? So it's just like you go into the garden and there's flowers, but not every flower is a rose, right? Some are roses, some are daisies, some are irises, but they're all flowers. You see? So this is kind of how humanity has been operating. We're all humans, but there's different seeds of human. When you hear star seeds, this is what we talk about, right? So we're all part of this garden, but some of us may be roses, Palladians, some of us may be irises, Octurians, right? But we're still all part of this garden, right? So these are the metaphors that wanted to come in. And of course, I did not bring anything to drink, and my body's starting to get hot because whenever I start transmitting energy is when I know my guides are with me, meaning my inner guidance system, all my activation systems are getting turned on right now. So that means the collective's ready to receive and we're ready to transmit some energy. So let's look at the astrology first and foremost. Again, if you want to grab a drink, again, essential oil, take a breath, and let's look at some of the astrology as what's going on now. And then we can talk about also today too, I wanted to share with you guys, if you follow the Mayan calendar system, and I can look at that as well. I did not put a screenshot on here. But there is also a gap day happening today, which in Mayan astrology is called a galactic activation portal day. And there's only 52 of them per 260-day cycle. And there's one happening today, and it's the white rhythmic mirror for those that follow. And if you want to check this out, you can check out the app 1320 Sync, which also follows the Mayan calendar system. So again, this is also part of the layering effect that I practice with. I look at the Western astrology. I follow the shamanistic view of what's happening with nature. I also follow again, the Mayan cosmology, and I just layer it together, putting the pieces of the puzzle together through my own gnosis, through studying these different, again, knowledge, data, and then I assimilate it into wisdom through my own meditative practice, right? Through being in my body, through, it's one thing to learn knowledge, but then how do you integrate it into wisdom? And I'm here to learn Sagittarius, so this is definitely my North Node natally in Sagittarius. I've got to learn this, right? That's what I've come to learn. 29-degree, I have this, it's the last anoretic. I've probably done this before in the past, but I didn't complete it, right? I've come to complete this energy of learning how to assimilate knowledge, data, and turn it into wisdom, right? Through my own self-gnosis. And I do that by studying different patterns, different, again, pattern recognition. And how I do that is studying different religions, different cultures, different ways people were seeing their reality. And because there's stories there, there's truth, there is a golden thread of truth in these stories if you choose to follow that within yourself. There's wisdom to be gleaned everywhere if you choose to look at it that way. Again, perception, this is Gemini. How you perceive your reality is going to dictate what your reality shows, how the reality shows up for you, right? So right now, the reality's been showing up for a lot of us as division, divided, warring, imbalanced. And so perhaps in this Gemini season, we're starting to see if you're willing to recognize that it's all you and willing to go into that middle path, right? Like the Buddha says, the middle way, because Gemini rules two, or rules everything that's two in your body, both hemispheres of the brain, the two hands, 2 feet, everything that's two in your body, the lungs, all is represented by Gemini, right? So I'm going to read to you what the Mayan Galactic Activation Portal Day, and today is May 21st, it's a 3-day. And this is the portal day of today's energy. So you can sit with this and just kind of contemplate it and meditate on it. It says, I organize in order to reflect, balancing order. So here we go, talking about Gemini. I seal the matrix of endlessness with the rhythmic tone of equality, equalizing, balancing. Again, I'm thinking of hemi-syncing, right? I am guided by my own power doubled. I am a galactic activation portal. Enter me. And it's wave spell 5, which also has to rule Mercury because 5 is the number that's ruled by Mercury. And it's Red Skywalker. And the energy reflections of the Red Skywalker is here space, explore, and wakefulness. So whatever this means to you, again, these are concepts, these are energies per the Mayans that help you reflect on the wave spell of energy. If you think of like, again, a Fibonacci spiral, because that's how the energy per the Mayans saw it. They saw it as spiraling energy. And they used a 28-day cycle, right? 13 moon calendar system. So they're saying, hey, there's approaching waves of energy that you can sit with and meditate on because it's about pattern recognition. And so the Mayans studied their own pattern recognition. Western astrologers studied their own pattern recognition, right? Eastern Vedic astrologers study their own pattern recognition. It's about recognizing patterns, blueprints, systems that are in play, and then using this tool, whatever that is for you, in your own unique way to make sense of it so you can have more harmony and balance and peace with what's going on all around you, right? So it's helping unify the dividing parts of ourselves, if you will. So I just wanted to read that to you. And also, let's take a look at the transit today, May 21st. I use Greenwich Village time, which is here in the Northern Hemisphere, United States. And I like to put it too as Aries on the first cusp because this is like, it just helps to keep things more regulated. It's going to look different for everybody depending on where you're located. But I through this program here, it's Astro Gold. I'm able to put Aries at the first part of it so we can kind of see imagery wise the energies and how they're at play. And so you can see here too, the sun just ingressed into Gemini, again, rules the third house. And Jupiter, with the planet of expansion, has been in Gemini. It's going to be ingressing in June into Cancer. But what was interesting, and the energy that wanted to be spoke about, is this upcoming transit new moon. So we're going to be moving here the wheel a day ahead to the 20. First of all, we're going to be going into the 25th. You can see here, Mercury will be at its last degree point with Taurus. So there's going to be a summing up of when Mercury, the mind, has been thinking about, all things Taurus, money, stability, second house values, right? So maybe some things that we've been asked to slow down with the mind and Taurus. And now on the 25th, going into the 26th, right around this new moon, the Mercury is going to be going into its own sign, which is Gemini, because Mercury rules Gemini. Like it's at home in Gemini, it likes to be at Gemini. So all this grounding and being in nature, this is another thing too. We get a lot of information the more you can get into nature since it's been in Gemini. Well, now this ingress moving into air, you're going to be seeing air. Think about the elements of how Earth moves and then how air moves, right? So Earth is slow. It's a receiver. It's yin. It gathers things into itself, just like the Earth, right? It holds fire. It holds water. It holds the plants. It holds everything. But now with the shifts moving our personal planets, which is the sun, Mercury, the moon with this new moon phase, it's going to be transiting into air. And we think about how air moves, right? Air is quick. It changes directions. It can move the branches in the trees. And if there's a lot of it, it can actually there's been a lot of tornadoes coming across this place in Kentucky where I'm at. So you can see when air is powerful. And again, it's going to be trining Pluto, which is transformation. So, and it's going to be aspecting here. Jupiter is still in Gemini. There is a lot of expanding, powerful air movement, dynamic movements happening, and air rules the mind. So the more activated we are within the mind, the more we're going to be seeing more outside movements with all these fields of energy in the weather pattern, which is our emotion, is going to be showing up for us in the collective energies, right? So again, this is about learning to manage your mind, to be in recognition of how thoughts become things and how powerful the higher mind, which is Aquarius, is activated by what? Our routines, Mercury, what we think about, who we do business with, how we spend our money, because this is all part of Gemini as well. It rules merchants, it rules commerce, right? It rules third house siblings. It rules our neighbors, our friends, our everyday dealings, right? So we're really being asked to right now, especially with coming out of Mercury being in Taurus, our values, perhaps a new way of seeing, hey, I'm only going to put my power and my energy force into things that are aligned with my values. So, in other words, there might be those of us who are starting to take care of our bodies more and realize that, oh, wow, how I affect my body affects my consciousness, affects my projections, affects how I treat other people, right? So, for example, if you drink too much one night, right, and you're hungover the next day, you're not your best self because you're hungover, you're repairing, you're thinking about, and you're probably in a lower vibrational field. So then you don't treat people as well the next day because you're still in that recovery mode, right? This is just for me remembering when I used to drink a lot, being a bartender. I wasn't my best self the next day because I was hungover. I was like, feeling like crap, right? So now over time and space, I've had awareness like, oh, wow, when I treat my body better and when I feel better, I do better, I act better, I have more energy to do things with my friends and family. I just treat them with more respect. I treat myself with more respect because I understand how what I consume affects how I act. It's just as simple as that, right? There's, again, no judgment. It's just starting to reflect on, wow, when I start moving my body in a certain way, I start exercising, breathing better, stopping certain substances and starting new habits. It's also Taurus, our sixth house, Virgo, which is again where we've come. We've got the South Node in Virgo right now. It's like, hey, you remember this. You remember how your body is connected to your spiritual nature. It's connected to what you are projecting in your reality. It's the physical, right? Your boundaries is physical. It's the skin. It's Saturn. You have boundaries within you that need to be honored and to be understood and learned about so that you can be the highest, best version of you, right? Not just for yourself, but for your family, for your friends, right? You feel better, you do better. And so with Gemini, it's about learning the processes and then how do you apply it? Because you've also got this, Jupiter's been squaring the nodes of faith. So Jupiter is expanding and saying, hey, you may be learning what's good for Mary or what's good for Sal or what's good for Adam. That's great. That's awesome that that's helping them out. But does that mean that's good for you? So again, Jupiter in this squares are sort of, they call them hard aspects, means something needs to change. And so if you've been doing things, because Gemini also, we're very easily influenced by our friends, neighbors, early education. We were taught certain ways on how reality worked, and now all that's disintegrating, right? Even the positions of authority, perhaps our education system, perhaps our medical system, people are losing faith. They're losing um, respect, quite frankly, for the established authority figures that we've all been under, we've all been regulated by. The governing systems that were once regulating the information and the data that we were receiving in early education now is no longer credible, right? We're calling BS on things that we were taught that we said, this doesn't make any sense anymore. I can remember at one point years ago, and just I'm dating myself, I'm a Gen Xer, but there was a point, guys, and I know this sounds impossible to believe, but our doctors in hospitals used to smoke in hospitals. Okay. So as I'm saying, we've come so far and what we've learned about not only how to take care of ourselves, but about how this whole operating system works. And we're still continuing to learn. I mean, imagine 20 years from now, looking back and going, oh my gosh, I can't believe we did this then, not knowing what we know is evolution, right? So again, finding grace with, you don't know what you don't know until you know it. And then once you know it, you do better with it, right? It's because knowledge is power. It's depending on how you're using this power, which is Pluto and Aquarius, right? Can you use it for groups, organizations, for other people? Because that's how the power wants to be utilized right now. It's not for the selfish gains purpose, just for a few people to this is what the governing, this is what Pluto and Capricorn was revealing, that only a few people in power and charge were reaping the benefits of what technology, Aquarius, right? These med beds that exist, these regenerative tools that only a few had access to. Well, now that's what the top's being blown off. That's what you're starting to see now, especially with this new moon energy, with Mercury going into Gemini, the sun going into Gemini, and it's going to be expanding again. Ways of seeing perhaps technologies that we've had that we didn't have access to, that now we're starting to see, we're going to be demanding, seeing, okay, we want access to it because we're going to be sextiling. You've got Sirius right here, which is the asteroid of the grain of harvest. So you're going to be seeing a lot of aha moments about food, right? The chemistry in our food. And something I wanted to share with you guys, I don't know if you've ever followed, I'm going to quit screen sharing here. I just wanted to show the dynamics of that, but I don't know if you guys have ever followed or have heard of Dr. Zach Bush. I absolutely love his content. I think he's just an amazing human being. If you've ever listened to any of his podcasts, he's very highly intelligent, higher mind, but he's also very heart-centered. And he has several businesses and supplements and things that I absolutely trust because I trust his heart. Again, I've listened to him, I've sat with his presence, and through my own inner gnosis have discerned which beings I can follow based on their values. And he values humanity. He values being healthy, that we are actually more spiritually attuned to nature, the healthier we are. And he really talks about the gut health being so important, which also is ruled by Cancer. And so for about a year and a half now, I've been using this ion gut support system. It's kind of dirty right now. I'm almost done with it. But yeah, digestive support, immune function, gluten defense, nutrient absorption. And the main thing that it has is humic extract, right? So again, I'm not promoting him. This is just something that I use that I have found a lot of value with. You take it before a meal. It doesn't taste like anything. You just put it in your water, I think it's a tablespoon right before you ingest a meal. And it just helps kind of absorb everything. I feel like I've not had as much bloating, been able to assimilate things more. So again, really being mindful of who you merge with, what you merge with, making sure that you're using your most valuable resource, which is your spending, which is your current, right? Some of us, it's our money, but it's really our currency. It's what we put our attention to. And so asking right now, most of us to pour our currency into those things, those people, those organizations that hold our values, right? So if you want organic food, it may cost you a little more, but that's where you put your current because that's what you want to see more of. Everything else will collapse because we're not literally giving our focus to these egregor type monolithic, huge corporations, right? Corpses, living corpses that we created through our consciousness because we're projecting, right? So the I don't want to go too down into that rabbit hole about projecting, the forces that we don't want to see. Because again, if we get activated or triggered by things that we get pissed off outside of us, then we're actually giving energy to it and we're actually perpetuating that projection. Right. So this is deep mysticism, this is deep magic when you really kind of get into, the controllers of this realm, how they understand how energy works. It's just neutral. It's neither bad nor good. It's just energy. It's how you use it, right? So it's about getting the knowledge, Gemini. With great power comes great responsibility. It's all you. So being very discerning on what you're focusing on, because you're literally creating it and making it more alive by your focus. That's how powerful we are. We were never taught that, right? So we're just coming back online with the inner technologies, the projecting technologies that exist within us as our organs, as our operating systems, as our systems, and our own pattern recognition. Okay. So Again, with eyes to hear, eyes to see and ears to hear, this is for you. Also, another thing that wanted to come through too, really working with, I told you the magic of the roses just popping up, right? Just having an image. And so flower essences are very powerful. They're very soft. You think, oh, because I like working with essential oils, which tend to be very potent, right? Very strong. And sometimes stronger is not better. And this is something else I had to really sit with, is because sometimes the most gentle and soft energy is the strongest, most powerful energy. I think of the divine feminine, right? Like the mother bear. And so sometimes these flower essences are like mother bear energies. They are soft and they're subtle, but they're potent, sometimes even more potent than the concentrated essential oils. So what I've been really working with are the Bach remedies. And this one here, particularly the Star of Bethlehem. It's a 5-pointed star, but it's also it's homeopathic. And if you've ever worked with Bach remedies, beautiful. You just go under your tongue, right? And again, muscle test or do muscle kinesiology to figure out what's best for you. But again, the layering effect of working with these plant medicines, these flower essences, to regulate your frequency, your vibration, because that's what's going to manage what you're projecting. The timeline that you are connected to is going to be connected through your vibration. So flower essences, for me, what I've discovered, as subtle and sweet and soft as they are, boy, they pack a punch. And they're big transmuters, right? Because they've been around the earth, they've been on the earth for millions of years, and they've been able to assimilate all kind of data and knowledge, again, from our ancestors that have gone to the earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. They never die, right? Because, and this is another kind of download, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but and this is why it's really important for my own discovery to be using cell salts, because and I forget who the physician was that discovered that he took samples of people who had been cremated, right? And what was left in the dust of people who had been cremated, and all that was left were these 12 cell salts. Now, salts are crystals. And if you keep adding to these salts, they keep regrowing. So again, these are immortal substances that the body is made of that are just being repurposed, regenerated, restored. It's transmuted into another version of us, if you will. That's why being out in nature barefoot is so important, because literally our ancestors exist in the soil. It's a part of a mycelium network of energy, of consciousness. I think of like the Avatar movie, right? Everything's out in plain sight. This big tree, which is the tree of consciousness, some of people say that's Polaris. That's like our original tree from our original root races. And I don't want to go down that timeline. I'm going to invite you to listen to the language. You can go and explore what these are. Root races, right? Think of a root of a tree. And supposedly this is the 6th root race that we're in right now. If you understand that energy is neither created nor destroyed, we just continue. Again, pattern recognition, Fibonacci spiral, to come back into these higher octave versions, higher octave humans, maybe leaving Homo sapiens, going into Homo luminous. Again, this is also Richard Rudd, Gene Key, talking about the new evolved human, which is mostly light, going from primarily a carbon-based system to a crystalline system. This is evolution. This is part of how the organic matter is mutating and metamorphosizing into another octave version of ourselves. And how we're doing it is the sun. The sun is speeding us up. We're getting these coronal mass injections that are bombarding the planet. You can check the Schumann resonance to see how, when things speed up, that's when things really morph and change. Think of like heat, right? If you've ever boiled water, you can see that as soon as the heat is added to water, which is also what we're mostly made of, then it starts boiling and it starts shifting and it starts moving rapidly. So to counterbalance all this moving rapid data that's coming into our systems, that's activating our DNA, that's bringing evolution to the new human through our breath, through just being, is not even about doing anymore, guys. This is happening naturally. This is what nature is showing us. It's happening organically anyway. But if you want to support yourself during this process, and give yourself everything you need so that the highest octave version of you can come through, then that's what's being called for right now. This is what the North Node and Pisces South Node is like, hey, take care of your physical vessel, because spiritually, if you want to be the highest octave version of you and the most metaphysical, right, beyond the physical version of you, the way to connect to that, which is what we're all here to learn, North Node Pisces, is through doing the grounding work in your body, right? So this is why I like pulling cards too from grounded approaches to energy and working with the body. So today I'm going to pull a card. Take a secret breath if you guys are still with me. Just put a heart in the comment and just let me know how these energies are affecting you, because we can all be feeling these ascension symptoms within the body. And a lot of us are feeling different types of energies, ascension symptoms, headaches, nausea, sleeplessness, aches and pains throughout the body, right? These are, again, as we're expanding, growing, evolving into the highest octave of ourselves, we have to shed. This is the years of the snake. This is a 9-year, right? So we have to literally shed these old versions of ourselves. And our organs have to do the same thing. So this is where these detox, a lot of these are detox symptoms, guys, right? Because a lot of the coronal mass injections, like pushing things out of your cells. So support your body during this time by flushing it out, right? Sleep more, activated charcoal, diatomaceous earth. These are just some of the things that I've been playing with, that I've watched other people, and I try it on myself, right? If it works for me, if it resonates, if it feels in sync for me to do it, then my body knows it. It's like, I call it the quickening. It's like my body's like, yes, I want that. Or no, I don't want that, right? Because I'm so into my body. I'm treating it like a friend. It's a reflection point. It's an antenna. It's like these roses, right? It's receiving the cosmic energy. And so I want to respect my body and listen and learn to listen and to really honor the body in a way that I've never been taught to honor through early education. I was never taught it. And unfortunately, a lot of our healthcare systems, our doctors were never taught nutrition, right? So again, using your discernment on who you follow, who you pay attention to, and what feels right for you and your body. So in that measure, I'm going to go ahead and pull from Love Your Body from Louise Hay. And let's see what part of the body wants to be worked with today. For you that are watching that are a vibrational match, there's a part of your body that just wants some extra love and support during this time for this new moon in Gemini. As Mercury is going to be entering Gemini, what part of the body really wants to be supported during this time? So the part of the body that you guys can work with, this is men and women, are your breasts, right? So actually women, if you know how to take care of your body and do your own testing for your breasts, just to make sure that your lymphs are supported, right? So we have lymphs underneath here, around here. I'll show you my armpits. There you go. I think I shaved them. Didn't matter if I did it anyway, but anyway, so yeah, there's lymphs here that you could be doing some tapping, right? And massaging of your breasts. Again, this is a very intimate way to take care of your body. So don't worry about what you were learned in, religious class that, some of us didn't know how to be in our bodies and we're ashamed to be in our bodies. But this is important to learn because our breast is also around our heart, right? So the mantra, it says, my breasts are the perfect size and shape for my body. They are healthy and well nourished, right? So this is also too, mothers, this is how we give life and sustenance to our children, is through breast milk, right? The milk of the mother. I'm thinking milk and honey, which is why chocolate is so important, right? Dark chocolate, especially because it's got that equal portion of sugar to milk that we crave when we participate with the mother's milk, right? So this is just something that came in. I actually saw a documentary on Netflix about that. I forget the name of the documentary, but it talks about just cool things you didn't know about your body. And that was one of the things that it talked about, why we crave dark chocolate, because it has that same ratio of consistency to mother's milk. And so we crave mother's milk, right? Being nourished by the mother. This is also part of that divine feminine flow coming in, again, nourishing our bodies. So just really nourishing your breast during this time, men and women alike. This is not just women. This is men. This is where you hold your heart, right? So just, activating. There's also the thymus gland is right here behind your breastplate. So this is also a part of your hormonal system that keeps you regulated and balanced. So that's just part of the body that really wants to be nourished and worked with. And next, I'm going to be pulling a card from Now, this is astrologically based. I don't know if you guys ever work with tarot cards, which I love. This is an ancient divination um, tool that's been around for centuries. And this is the deck that I'm working with right now because it's also astrologically based, which I really love. Shout out to my really dear friend Lisa Finelli who gifted this deck of cards to me. I've just loved them. It's part of my practice. Ooh, this just came out right now. Ooh, Ace of Cups. So there's new beginning in love. Cups is about emotion, usually has to do with relationships. Aces are beginnings, right? And so you can see too that the arrows pointing down means the receiver. So in alchemic occult knowledge, if you see an arrow pointing up, that usually denotes a masculine, right? So the masculine elements in astrology are going to be your fire and your air, which a lot of the outer planets right now are changing, moving from water and earth, yin, to more fire and air, which is yang, right? But this right here, because cups rules the yin, it's going inward. So it's asking you to really, again, ace is new ways to love who? Yourself. And again, the other, because the other is you. So when you take action on new ways to love yourself, to really, it's new beginnings in self-love. And that's eventually, because cups is also, when you look at the two of cups, that's how you attract your divine partnership, right? If you're looking for romance or partnership, it comes from love first. It comes from self-love first. Because as we're projecting this out into the field, you're only going to be magnetizing that which you are. So taking better care of yourself, really tuning into your body, again, loving all aspects of self is going to help with the self-love, and then to help you if you're looking for a romantic partner, or just help you reinvigorate the partnership you already have, right? If you've already are in a committed, loving relationship, then it's almost what I'm seeing too is like being an example for your partner and how you're loving yourself in a new way, being an inspiration for them. And maybe it's, for example, if you guys you've been stagnant for a while, right? And you get inspired to start riding your bike, then it'll inspire your partner. I want to go with you, right? So it's developing that love frequency for yourself first, and then inviting another to express it with you. Right. So this is all part of the dance of romantic partnerships, and especially cups energy, because cups has to do with feeling. It's the water signs, right? You think it's like the emotions, which is very much water. And then the next herbal card for those that are watching, I love pulling from the herbal astrology deck because, again, I like the pragmatic tools. It's one thing to learn about the higher mind and the astrological musings of what's going on, but then how do you apply it to the real world? How do you apply it to your body so that you can feel better, so that you can be better, you can do better, and just be the better version of you, right? So I'm asking for, again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a neurologist, I'm just doing an energy read for what the energy wants to be spoken on. And so what for the collective, again, go Blue Lotus. So Blue Lotus has been coming up a lot. And what's interesting, again, it's ruled by the number 5, which is very mercurial. And so the interesting story about Mercury is it's the only god in the pantheon of the gods, if you're following Greek or Roman astrology or mythology rather, that can go into the underworld, right? And the underworld would be the netherworld, which would be our unconscious or inner conscious. They say in the archetypal energy that Hades rules his world, which is what is unseen. It's usually people are fearful of it because it's like, right, the underbelly. It rules sexuality, things that are hidden, occult knowledge, which occult only means hidden, right? So a lot of it's been propagated to see it in a negative way. But with Mercury, Mercury's neutral. Mercury is hermaphroditic in nature, meaning it's male and female. It has both energies. It's parthenogenic in that way. It gives birth to itself in that regard. I think of Hermes also as Thoth, right? Thought. Hermes Trismegistus, which if you guys ever studied that line of thinking in what's that book? I can see it in my head. The Emerald Tablet, but there's another one. The Kabbalah? No. Anyway, you guys put in the comments what that is. I'm having a memory. But anyway, it's Hermes Trismegistus. And it's a very spiritual book that talks about the mind, right? That all is mind. And it leads the path to Hermeticism as well. we talk about Hermetic principles, but going into Blue Lotus can go into the netherworld, can go into the deep unconscious realms, parts of you, to give you insight, to give you clarity. Again, this is the sun right here. It rules the sun and the moon, so it's balanced, right? It brings to light which is hidden in the moon. The moon is ruled by the nighttime, so that's which is unseen. And then it sheds a light on what's unseen. So this is also where it helps you develop your intuition, which is also what Blue Lotus is. So Mercury, the mind, while we think it's just mostly about the mind, what I'm seeing here too, it's merging you with your intuition. So it's taking you out of the duality of this or that versus this, which is the dual planes of existence, right? Because we have two hemispheres, and it puts you into that central channel, which is your heart, which will give you direct clarity. Again, emotions coming from the chalice. This is also, I see this is your heart. This is the blossom of your higher mind, the jewels of consciousness, which again, purple is the higher mind. This is the crown chakra. And it's giving you insights and pouring and bringing it down to the earth, this higher wisdom that comes from your inner realms, which when we think of higher mind, it's actually, because this realm is inverted, it's actually the inner consciousness, what's been hidden in the underworld, right? So again, just play on words, which is also very Mercury. But so maybe working with Blue Lotus, either tea, it's Blue Lotus is also smokable, depends on how you want to use the medicine. Or again, you don't even have to imbibe with it in the physical. You can just connect with the energy of Blue Lotus just into your meditation, because we're in quantum realms. You can merge with the plasma body with anything. And I think we talked about this in the last report. You can start really using your imagination and start playing with pulling things from the etheric field that you may need. I've been really working with monatomics, where I'm working with monatomic gold and silver until I can afford to actually get the monatomics, or I may not even need them, depending on my belief, if you will, knowing that how this field's worked, right? We're in a quantum energy field. So again, doing the alchemy within myself to know that I can create that outside of myself by doing the practices, by doing the work. And Blue Lotus I've actually been working with Blue Lotus, and it helps quite a bit with dream retention, with relaxation, with connecting to your ancestors, and again, getting you out of that dualistic mind, this or that versus that, and just putting you into center point in your heart to going, oh, okay, this is the divine intelligence that's navigating, that's showing me what to do, that's showing me how this works outside of duality, which again, we're in Gemini season right now. So duality is going to be the focus, right? The poles of consciousness, polarity, politics, right? Whenever you go to elect something, you have to go to the polls. So these are all coded languages. It's about describing the nature of consciousness and where we are navigating these fields of consciousness within us. So anyway, I hope this helped. I hope this gave you some insights, some inspiration on how to navigate these energies. And again, let me know in the comments how you're experiencing these energies in your body, if you're feeling any kind of ascension symptoms, and what you're doing to support yourself, because this is a community where we're learning to support ourselves, and it may help another one of us, because that's how I learned how to take care of myself, right? I'm watching others, and those that I vibrate with, that I'll trial and error. I'll say, well, this may work for them. Let me try it out and see if it works for me. Right. So again, it's using discernment, but we need each other. This is not meant to be done alone. We are pack animals by nature. So it's learning to resolve these polarized aspects of self, right? The two hemispheres of the brain, Gemini. It's not versus us versus them, black versus white. It's not any of that. It's and more. Is learning to navigate through that central point, which is the bridge, the corpus calostrum, which is the back of the brain, which is what bridges these aspects of duality and brings you right into the center, which is your heart, which is earth, which is right now where Mercury is, right? And Mercury, as of today, is still in Taurus. So please go out and ground, be with the earth, be with nature, be with divine intelligence, because that's what's going to give you, for me, I have found more peace, more joy, more coherence, and a lot less overthinking, because I'm in trust now. I'm in trust that this is happening for me. I'm in knowing that I am part of this divine intelligence. And as I'm watching divine intelligence in nature do its thing, I'm realizing that that's also happening within me. It's doing its thing, without me having to do anything, right? This is the art of Wu Wei, a very Taoist way of seeing the world, right? The doing, non-doing. So these are just aspects to explore today while the moon is still in Pisces. And again, as we're approaching these energies, just stay in your heart, guys. Be able to be witness to the polarizing frequencies that are happening. And again, it's never what we think. So being willing to explore, drop all thoughts and stay into a spirit of receptivity as we are navigating these polarizing energies of that or this and that, and just unifying it. It's actually and more. It's not this or that, it's this and that. And how can I observe that, be the observer, stay in my heart so I can navigate and become and emit, just time spelled backwards, the highest octave, most vibrationally balanced, harmonically sound version of myself, not just for me, but for my friends and family, for everybody who I'm here to serve, which is also Virgo, right? We're here to be of service to one another. So I hope these messages served you. I hope you were finding these energies with grace and ease. That's my intention. And again, if you want to put in the comment, let me know how these energies are affecting you, because you could help somebody with your words. Gemini season, using your words in the highest octave way is going to help all of us. All right. So much love to you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Mwah. And if you found any value in this, please like, subscribe, share to your friends and family who may be navigating these energies. It really helps support the channel. It helps support me so I can create more of these videos for free, and being able just to express some of the energies. And it really just helps to give back just by, and it's free for you to do so. So thank you again for being here. Thank you for supporting the channel.